That's a puppy right there. Another pet food recall today, this time a dry cat food, Hill's Pet Nutrition Prescription Diet. More than 90 cat and dog food brands have now been recalled. All contain a wheat gluten purchased in China that was tainted with a household plastic. Earlier tonight, I spoke with veterinarian Louise and I asked her just how popular Hill's, the latest brand in question, is. Dr. Murray, how popular is this brand of pet food?
Well, the MD dry food is actually prescription food that can only be sold by veterinarians. So it's used by many veterinarians for certain conditions in cats, but it can't be bought at regular pet stores.
So do we know at this point how many animals have died because of this?
We don't know because there are a lot of cases where the owners are suspicious or concerned, but many of those cases haven't been confirmed. So there is no hard data right now on how many animals have actually been sickened or died. The
FDA said today that melamine, this chemical that's used to make fertilizers and plastic utensils, is linked to the contamination of all the recalled pet foods. What does the chemical actually do to pets?
Well, in experiments that have been done in the past on animals, if you read the literature, the animals formed crystals in their urine and in their kidneys, so that would be consistent with some of what we've been seeing on the autopsies of some of these pets that did indeed have crystals in their kidneys.
You've actually treated some animals. What did you see?
In the animals that we saw, we've treated several cats. They did indeed have kidney failure, but what's really nice that we're trying to get the word out is that these cats did respond to treatment. So while they did show damage to their kidneys, in our intensive care unit, they did do very well.
What's the treatment?
A lot of it is just aggressive fluid therapy. What we're trying to do is to dissolve the crystals and flush them out of the kidneys. So in an intensive care unit setting, you can give animals very, very aggressive fluid therapy, and that helps to dissolve the crystals.
You know, this is a scary thing for all of us pet owners out there. What should pet owners look for if they're worried about their animal?
What we're trying to let people know is that it's important to look for some of the early warning signs. Some of the symptoms that the pet owners will see first would be things like increased thirst or maybe decreased appetite. So pet owners should not be waiting until their pet is gravely ill to seek help. If they see some of these early symptoms, they should go to the veterinarian right away because we are seeing a response to treatment.
So what kind of foods are safe for dogs and cats to eat?
Well, right now, we're really only worried about the recalled brands. So we think that pet owners should continue feeding some of the high-quality pet foods, the dog and cat foods that are available, as long as they haven't been on the recall list.
And where can people see that list?
That list is on menufoods.com. We also have a lot of information at ASPCA.org on our website. We keep updating it daily.
All right, good information. Dr. Louise Murray, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so you can find that list of 42 cat foods and 53 dog foods being recalled online. You go to menufoods.com/recall. Again, menufoods, one word, no spaces.com/recall.
Now to China and its link to contaminated pet food. In your emails, you've asked us to stay on top of this story, and we're going to for you. The suspect ingredient in the tainted pet food was traced back to a company in China, but the company says it's not to blame. We sent our cameras to check it out. CNN's Joe Johns is keeping them honest tonight.
The pet food investigation starts its long path on the other side of the world at a rundown warehouse in China, where employees started covering up what appeared to be sacks of grain when our cameras arrived. The Food and Drug Administration has ordered the seizure of wheat gluten entering the U.S. that comes from the company inside the warehouse, Suzhou Anying Biological. Its wheat gluten was found to be contaminated with the chemical melamine, which testing has suggested is toxic to pets. But the company is claiming it's only a middleman and not the source of the problem. The company said it was astonished by what it called rumors from the United States. Suzhou Anying has also said it did not export directly to the U.S., that it sold the product to another Chinese company which probably exported it. This woman at the warehouse told CNN, "We want to clear our name." Meanwhile, back in the United States, Menu Foods, manufacturer of nearly 100 brands that it recalled, is being sued by angry pet owners who unknowingly gave their animals the suspect food.
He died 6 days after I fed him. All his organs shut down.
She'd get up, walk 5 or 10 feet, kind of in a diagonal motion, and then just lay down and groan. And I knew it was time to euthanize the cat.
The Chicago law firm that held that news conference is looking for more plaintiffs. It said 200 people have signed on to the class action lawsuit so far. It also wants a court to keep Menu from destroying the recalled food, claiming it's evidence. According to the University of Guelph, here's what appears to be part of the scientific evidence. These are pictures of crystals found in the urine of cats believed to have been affected by the toxin. Toxicologists think the crystals are formed by melamine, which is a plastic derivative used as fertilizer. The question in the laboratory is whether the crystals are causing the kidney failure that's killing the pets.
It ends up in the kidneys and forms crystals, and there can be large amounts of crystals in the kidney. Right now, pathologists are looking very carefully at the kidneys of cats to try and see if they can tell exactly what is happening.
As far as sick and dying pets, the count continues. FDA said it had 10,000 complaints, though it has registered only 14 deaths. However, PetConnection.com, a pet owner website, claims it's received reports of more than 3,000 suspected deaths. But the worst may be over. At this animal hospital in New York, the veterinarian was reporting no new cases.
So we did start seeing cases of kidney failure in cats several weeks ago when the recall began. We treated the cats aggressively with intravenous fluids in our intensive care unit, and we're lucky because our cats have all made it home.
And the ASPCA has said the number of calls it has been getting has dropped off substantially. But the fallout may be just beginning. A Senate hearing could come next week, and the FDA investigation isn't over yet. Joe John, CNN, Washington.
And we'll stay on top of this story for you. A list of the 42 cat food and 53 dog food products involved in the Menu Foods recall is online at menufoods.com/recall. menufoods.com/recall.
A new brand joining the pet food recall list, Del Monte, voluntarily pulling some pet treats, including its jerky treats, gravy-trained beef sticks, and Pounce meaty morsels. For a complete list of those foods that have been pulled off the shelves, check out foxnews.com. And we're joined now by Dr. Louise Murray. She's with the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. I can't think of anything crueler than this continuing. How many more products do you think we could see pulled? Is this ingredient so common in pet food?
Well, wheat gluten is a fairly common ingredient, but it's important to remember that there are also lots and lots of pet foods that don't contain wheat gluten, so we really don't want people to panic about this.
Can wheat gluten be called anything else if we're going to look at the ingredient label?
Well, the FDA is responsible for making sure that pet foods are labeled properly, so it should be okay for pet owners to carefully read the labels and see if they see wheat gluten on the label. If they're not sure, they can just call the pet food manufacturer and check.
Okay. What is your biggest concern right now about the pets that are, like, how quickly do they get sick? What should we be looking out for? Will we recognize it if our pet becomes ill?
What we're trying to make sure people know at the ASPCA is that there are some early warning signs. A pet who is having early kidney damage could show things like increased thirst or decreased appetite that a pet owner might not realize could be an early sign of impending kidney damage. So we do want people to know to look for these more subtle symptoms.
I was thinking that I was somewhat concerned that people who have pets that get sick, the vet bills, unfortunately, are very, very expensive if you don't have insurance. The company has said they will pay for those bills, but someone that doesn't know that might abandon their pet. Are you seeing an increase in pets being brought in?
You know, we've been very lucky at our Berg Memorial Animal Hospital at the ASPCA. We've got very, very devoted pet owners. Their first concern has been their pet's health. You know, they want to take care of the pet, worry about the money later. I know it can be hard for some people. If anyone was having trouble with costs, they need to speak with their own veterinarian. If they had to, speak with an animal shelter. But of course, we would never want someone to consider abandoning their pet. And hopefully, most of pet owners in America are pretty devoted to their pets. They're like parts of our family.
Of course, mine is certainly. Right now, home-cooked food for your pet, is that more helpful or hurtful?
What we're telling people is that it's fine to continue feeding pet food if you feed a high-quality food. If people want to be super careful, they can check for wheat gluten. If they have questions, they can call the ASPCA's Animal Poison Control Center and ask about the food that they're feeding. If people do want to feed a home-cooked food, that's fine, but it's crucial that it's balanced by a veterinary nutritionist. They're actually specialists in veterinary nutrition. They're called board-certified veterinary nutritionists, and they can come up with a balanced food. Animals are so sensitive to nutrient deficiencies that pet owners need to be really careful if they're going to cook for their pets.
That's great advice. It's certainly worth the effort, but if you do it right, that would be better.
As long as it's balanced, it's absolutely essential that it be balanced.
All right, Dr. Louise Murray, thank you very much for coming in. Straight from the source, ASPCA.
It's Monday, March 19th, and here's what we're following on World News Now.
And veterinarians across the country are fielding calls from worried pet owners worried about a widening recall of dog and cat food. At least 60 million cans and packages of pet food made by Menu Foods are being recalled after some animals died and others got very sick. Here's ABC's Bob Jameson.
Pet owners went to New York's Animal Medical Center today, worried their dogs and cats had become ill from eating the recalled food.
Yeah, I'm totally freaking out because I gave her what I thought was a healthy treat, and now I might have killed my dog.
The order to clear store shelves came after cat and dog owners reported incidents of kidney failure and the deaths of 10 pets. The recall focuses on Menu's cuts and gravy-style pet food, distributed under a number of labels. So far, the company has recalled at least 48 brands of dog food and 40 brands of cat food. Menu makes pet food for 17 of North America's 20 top retailers, including Walmart and Safeway.
I think it is frightening for pet owners that so many brands seem to be affected and so many brands are involved in the recall.
Menu's president Paul Henderson said the manufacturer was still trying to figure out what happened. While we are still looking for a specific cause, he said in a statement, we are acting to err on the side of caution. Menu Foods said the recall would cost it $26 to $34 million. What should pet owners do? They should begin with the full list of pet foods recalled on Menu's website.
If the pet owner does feed that type of food, then the next thing they want to check is the lot number and the date that the food was produced. If their food does fall within those parameters, they would want to stop feeding the food.
Menu Foods said it was investigating one of the ingredients, wheat gluten, shipped by a new provider, now dropped by the company. A Food and Drug Administration official said even if wheat gluten is the problem with Menu's products, it could be another substance associated with the processing. They hope to have an answer this week. Bob Jameson, ABC News, New York.
There is a complete list of the recalled pet food along with advice from veterinarians on our website, abcnews.com.
You're watching CBS 2 News in high definition.
Then broken legs and busted mouth, a cat's agonizing fall from a high-rise building, and the bizarre disorder every pet owner should know about.
Racket is recovering from injuries that become more and more common as the weather gets warmer. We'll show you what cat lovers need to know about high-rise syndrome.
This cat injured after jumping from a high-rise window, and he's not the only one. It's happening all over the city, and there's a reason.
Tonight, a warning for cat owners that could save your feline's life.
Veterinarians say severely injured cats are already coming into the hospital as the season for something called high-rise syndrome begins. CBS 2's Cindy Hsu explains.
It hurts just to look at Racket, who was found on the ground after likely falling from a high-rise window.
He ended up breaking both of his front legs as well as splitting open the roof of his mouth.
Dr. Murray says the mouth injury is a telltale sign of what's called high-rise syndrome, when cats jump or fall from open windows with no screens. When it gets warm and the windows open up, Dr. Murray says at least 2 cats a week come into the hospital.
People think that cats can take care of themselves and won't jump or fall. In fact, we've seen cats who have fallen several times because their owners bring them home, don't purchase screens, and the same cat will fall again.
Hi, here's my man.
Gary barely survived falling from a 5th-floor window. His internal injuries are massive, and his owner gave him up for adoption. Gail Buchwald of the ASPCA says cats have no sense of height or depth.
A cat might see a leaf flutter or a bird fly by or some activity that looks interesting and either fall or jump.
So either keep your windows shut or take precautions.
Vets say if you don't have a screen, all you have to do is buy one of these at any hardware store. They're really inexpensive. You just put them in and you're set.
While you might think falling from a higher floor would be more dangerous than a lower floor, experts say the opposite is true.
If a cat falls from the 2nd or 3rd story, they often don't have time to position themselves well for the fall, so they can be even more severely injured.
Both Gary and Racket have a long road of healing ahead, but doctors say they'll be fine and ready for adoption in a few weeks. On the Upper East Side, Cindy Hsu, CBS 2 News.
They're cuties, and if you're interested in adopting, head to WCBSTV.com, click on links and numbers.
Oh, man.
For many mischievous pets, the kitchen table is never out of bounds. And as dog owners know, it is hard to resist the pleading eyes of a pooch begging for a sweet treat. But a recent study published in the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association warns against the dangers of accidentally poisoning dogs with xylitol, a commonly used sugar substitute found in some sugar-free candy, gum, and baked goods.
Dogs are the primary victims of xylitol poisoning. And that's most likely because dogs are the type of animal that will jump up on the counter and steal a cupcake or steal their owner's pack of gum out of their purse.
Cases of xylitol poisoning are on the rise. The ASPCA's Poison Control Center managed 170 cases of xylitol poisoning in 2005, twice the number of cases in 2004. This year's numbers suggest the upward trend continues. Researchers say that even small amounts of xylitol can be lethal.
You can see symptoms when a dog eats xylitol in as soon as 30 minutes. They'll begin to vomit, they can have tremors, some of the dogs will have seizures, and actually their liver will begin to fail.
At this dog park in New York City, pet owner Kelly Phillips takes special care with her bulldog Winston.
I just make sure that, if you're done eating or you're just hanging out and there's stuff on the coffee table, that it's quickly removed so he can't get into it.
But with Halloween just around the corner and candy trick-or-treating begins, an extra dose of caution is required for man and his best friend. Robert Bazell, NBC News.
Latest big job numbers have come out. Andy's got details. He's minding your business just ahead.
Also, health officials linking these cute little pets to some serious illnesses all the way across the country. 10 different states, in fact. Important advice for owners of so-called pocket pets in a moment when we continue. They are known as pocket pets, little hamsters or guinea pigs found at any pet store. They are seemingly safe, but apparently they can cause health problems for their owners, and the CDC is now saying these pets have been linked to salmonella. Health officials say up to 30 people in 10 states were stricken with salmonella after exposure to such animals. Many victims were children, 6 were hospitalized. And the infecting bacteria in each case showed resistance to multiple antibiotics, which could be a concern for health officials. Dr. Louise Murray is here this morning. She's Director of Medicine at the ASPCA's Berg Memorial Animal Hospital here in New York City. Good morning, Doctor. Pretty low numbers here, relatively speaking.
Relative to the number of people who get salmonella in the country every year, this is a tiny, tiny percentage.
But one of the key things that I just mentioned here was the antibiotics, resistant. How much does that concern you?
Exactly. If people want to figure out what to worry about in this situation, it's not the very small numbers of people that have been infected by their pets. Of course, that's something to worry about. We don't want anybody to get sick. We need to be careful and use good hygiene. But I think looking at the big picture, if people want to say, well, what's to worry about here, is that this was a drug-resistant strain of bacteria. What that means is that these bacteria are resistant to multiple antibiotics, and that's a situation that's been created by the way that we use antibiotics in this country.
Yeah, and so when we usually think about salmonella, we usually think about chicken.
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, the vast majority of people who get salmonella in this country get it not from pets, but from food. And probably the top culprits are eggs and meat.
How do you get it from a pet then?
The way you would get it from a pet is if a pet was either sick with salmonella, maybe the pet would show some diarrhea, or there can even be a healthy pet who might be carrying it. So the way that you would get it is by not using good hygiene after handling the pet, or especially a sick pet.
I think you mentioned one of the key things here. Well, to let our viewers know a couple of things you want to pass along today. Wash after holding a pet. Boy, we cannot stress that enough. Also, use extra care if the pet is ill, which you mentioned too, and be careful when buying a pet. What kind of questions do you ask? What are you looking for?
Well, one of the most important things is just to take a really good look. When you go into the store, when you look into the enclosure where the animals are being kept, you want to make sure none of the animals look ill. You want to see if you see any diarrhea in the pen. You don't want to buy a pet that looks quiet or tired or sick. You want a healthy looking pet. But even if your pet that you're looking at looks healthy, but other animals in the pen look ill, you want to leave that store and try going to a different store.
We mentioned these cute little furry things here. We talk about little reptiles and little turtles and stuff. Does this apply to dogs and cats too?
Well, we all pass salmonella around to each other. We can give salmonella to each other, we can give it to our pets can give it to us. So yeah, there is a potential for a dog or cat to carry salmonella. Any animal that has an upset stomach, you just want to use very good hygiene.
Well noted. Louise Murray, thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Nice to see you this morning. Here's Soledad.
All right.